In this investment appraisal video, we're going to try and have a look at a method known as ARR, which is of course a pirate's favourite method of investment appraisal. No, doesn't go down very well in my lessons either. No reason why it should be any better on video. With the ARR, what we're going to try and do is we're trying to calculate a percentage, and that percentage is going to tell us how much of a return this investment is going to give us annually if we were to invest in it. It's going to require a couple of little sums, but if we can remember how to do it and nail it on the exam day, it's going to put us in the top grade boundaries because not all students are going to be able to do this. So let's take a little look here. We remember that one of our criticisms of the payback method investment appraisal was they didn't really factor in the net returns that a project might give us after the year of payback. And with this little chap on the board here, we'll see that the fourth year is its most lucrative year. That's the year when the net return is the highest for us. But with payback, we didn't count this £6 million here because we'd already paid for ourselves. So it didn't really matter that this project had such a lucrative return in its fourth year. Well, the ARR is a method of investment appraisal that does at least factor in all of the net returns of a project across its entire life. And we're going to try and have a look at how we calculate how the average annual profit of this project is expressed as a percentage so that we can see what kind of returns this project is going to provide the organisation. So this is a project that is going to cost us £10 million. And over its 4-year life, we can see that it's going to make some net returns for us. In fact, the total net returns, if we add these four values together, is going to be £17 million. So this project is going to return £17 million for the organisation. But we've got to remember, we've also got to deduct the initial £10 million cost as well. So what we're really saying is that if we invest in this project, it's going to make us £7 million over a 4-year period. In fact, if we're going to be OCD about this, let's get the pound sign on there. This chap is going to make us £7 million over a 4-year cycle. Now, what we're going to try and do is to try and work out what that kind of return is for us as a percentage. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to say, well, if it makes us £7 million over 4 years, how much is it making us on average every year? So if we take our £7 million return and divide it by 4 years, we can say, yeah, it'll make us 7 million over 4 years. And on average, what that means is it's going to return to us 1.75 million a year. We call that the average annual profit. That's its total profit over its entire life, but that's how much on average it's making for us each year of the project. Now we're going to go a stage further than that, because although we can say, all right, if we invest in this project, it's going to on average make us £1.75 million a year, we want to try and turn that into a percentage. What is that £1.75 million as a percentage of the initial cost of investing in this project? And to do that, it's a very simple sum again. We'll take our 1.75 million average annual profit there. We'll just divide it by the £10 million cost of this investment. And if we remember to times it by 100, because whenever we want to work out a percentage, we've always got to times it by 100. And what we can say is that this average annual profit of 1.75 million is like saying it's going to make us 17.5% ARR. What we can say is this 1.75 average annual profit is a 17.5% return on our initial cost of this project. Now, ARRs are interesting because businesses can compare them to other different measurements to see whether they've got a project that might be worth investing in. First thing that we can do is perhaps compare ARRs of different investments against each other. So if we've got two potential projects that we're considering investing in, we've got one with our 17.5% ARR, but we've got another project with an ARR of 25%. If we're using the ARR method of investment appraisal to decide what to invest in, we wouldn't go with this project, we'd go with the one with the higher percentage returns. We can also perhaps compare our ARRs to other measurements to see whether projects are a good or a wise investment. For example, imagine we only had this one project that we were considering and it's got this ARR of 17.5%. Well, that number compares incredibly favourably to the return that we could make just leaving this £10 million in a high interest bank account and recouping the returns that that would give us. Even if we put it into a really generously interested bank account there, we might get, say, a 4%, 4.5% return. We can see that investing in a project is far riskier than just leaving the money in a bank account. But the reward is a much greater return. We might get 4% leaving it in the bank, 17.5% investing in whatever this project is. So the ARR is a really useful way of appraising the viability of an investment. So we could compare the ARR to current bank interest rates to check whether a scheme is worth the risk that is going to be attached to it. If it was only, say, 1% higher than you could get by leaving in the bank account, you'd have to think, well, is that really worth the risk involved in this scheme? Whereas with this one, because it's significantly higher, this scheme seems like a go, or it seems like one that we might want to try and invest in. Perhaps the criticism we could label at the ARR method is, first of all, it doesn't prioritise time like Payback did. For those firms that are cash sensitive, that are prone to liquidity problems, this one looks at the entire life of a project and assumes that we're quite happy to wait for year 4 when that's £6 million rolling in, and we can look at the entire duration of a scheme, work out how much its annual profit is on average each year. Firms might not have that luxury of time. They might want to prioritise getting that 10 million back out of a project as quickly as they possibly can. ARR doesn't account for time. The other thing we could say is, well, look, this scheme looks like it's going to make us £6 million in the 4th year. But hold on a second. £6 million in 4 years' time is not really going to be the same value as having £6 million right now. Nobody wants to wait 4 years for £6 million. It's more valuable to have that sum right now for 2 reasons. Number one, because of inflation, £6 million in 4 years' time is not going to buy the firm as much as having £6 million right now would. Secondly, if we had that £6 million right now, again, we could do something with it. We could invest it. We could make a return on it. So waiting 4 years for £6 million is a little bit of a distortion. That's not a true value. Because of inflation, because if we had that money now, we could earn a return on it, £6 million in 4 years' time is not really as valuable to an organisation as having £6 million right now. The ARR doesn't take account of that. It doesn't have any way of discounting the fact that money in the future is not as valuable to businesses as having that money earlier on. But that's why we've got our third method of investment appraisal. We'll look at MPV in another video. We'll throw a link to it up there in the corner. But that shows you how you calculate your ARR. It also tells us how we might kind of interpret the result when we get it. Hopefully you can do that one in the exam. If it comes up, it's one that not all students are going to be able to manage. So it's a good way of differentiating yourself and going for those higher grades if we can. Good luck as always with your revision. We'll see you soon for another investment appraisal video.